talking with Courtland today, who is, his studio is right next to mine upstairs at the Harrison Center, and he has a show this month in City Gallery. He went to the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, which is like an amazing school, like very prestigious, and did some of his undergrad studies in Indiana too. So thankful to be able to talk to you today about your work. And want to hear what your thoughts were.
Yes. Thank you. So this is a show, we called it The Unheard, an easy response to injustice. So with that, we wanted to kind of capture the response of Indianapolis to the injustice, dealing with the race issues, dealing with police brutality, and all the different things that are kind of building up to the riots and the protests that we saw throughout the nation. So I wanted to capture different aspects of the response from, if we look at this image here, we have the response, the more negative response received from some officers. Then we have corporate or not-for-profit responses like the Harrison Center itself. And then this was probably the first piece I got that I did that kind of led into the continuous body, where we have a prayer vigil. That was a CY prayer vigil that I attended. That really was the first image that I captured of the response of the situation. Then we have more positive responses, where we have an officer who ends up actually marching with the protesters. So you have this kind of collaboration that comes out of it in some cases as well. A lot of the images dealt with capturing kind of the graffiti and text that would be written on different buildings, on a bridge at the canal, and they kind of would give the statement of what the people were trying to say. That in some instances, like on the canal, you have a lot of on the circle, you have a lot of the words and text that actually were painted back over, and then you have paintings painted over those erased texts. But I tried to capture what I could with what the people were saying, and then that way we can analyze it and see what it actually is valid, and if there is a need for change, and then hopefully we can move in that manner. But the body itself is really trying to capture a more historic moment. It felt like a real pivotal point where you have the shift from things happening continuously, and then just kind of stand up where hopefully as a country we'll make a change.
So you mentioned the prayer vigil.
Yes.
I wonder how does your faith or your thoughts on God, how does that play into this work, or does it influence the way you work on this?
Oh yeah. So I'm a Christian. So my response is based in my faith. It's based on my relationship with Christ. So the response should be, again, how you respond to your neighbor, to an extent. So you're demonstrating the love of Christ. So we see that response in some, we see the opposite in others. So this is kind of analyzing and looking at that through. I tried to do a more neutral lens, but we know that's virtually impossible. Everything we do is filtered through our own lens. And so I did try to analyze and bring out certain points. And hopefully we can apply that, the concept of the parable of Jesus, where he looks at, we talk about we're dealing with the Good Samaritan. So things of that nature.
Before we started filming, you were talking about your undergrad being very
yes.
Kind of photo realism painting, and
yes.
this work has some more kind of abstracted space, like squares of color or shapes
yes.
broken down. And is that? I guess I feel like that hasn't changed in this work. Like that's been something you've held on to for a while. Yes. How did you get there?
Well, in undergrad, I did a lot of naturalistic painting from life models, still lifes outside. But that's the most I learned. So we also had still lifes inside where you have towers, bosses, everything we would study. But once I learned the mechanics of painting, then I would move to try to learn my own voice, my own way of painting, my own signature.
Right.
So I spent a lot of half of my senior year trying to develop that in undergrad. But grad school is really where you kind of squeeze the brain, twist it around, and figure out what you're saying and what your voice is and how you paint it. So that's where a lot of my distinct painting methods came from, was going through my senior year and through the year between grad school, years between, and then in grad school itself, of developing that voice.
It's interesting to me, even in kind of, even with the police shots, I feel like even in those, they feel quiet and like
Yes.
you're so, your personality to me seems so chill that these paintings have that even in the, like there's some kind of peace, and even in the violence there's a stop. Or do you see what I'm?
Yeah, so like almost like a calming effect.
Yeah, there's something really calming about them.
Yes. So for me, it's hopefully the painting can turn into like I said, a quiet moment where you can really look and analyze and really see what's happening. Without the charged emotion, but more of a neutral approach. Well, that's true. I remember in grad school, I took a friend down to Dunkin' Donuts. We're in Boston, so traffic's horrible. So I stopped right in the front of Dunkin' Donuts, like on the side. And then my friend ran inside to grab his donuts, and then the police came behind me. He honks. I never heard a police honk before. I heard sirens, not honks. So I was like, what is that? And he's like, you need to move. I gave you a warning, you need to move. He gives me a ticket. And then my friend comes out, he's like, you're not mad, but then that goes back into our relationship with Christ, being that balance. So that calming quality comes from that.
Yeah. Anything you're working on now or looking forward to in your work in the future?
Yes, my works in the future, I'm still looking at the city, but I'm looking at more historical aspects. A couple pieces on historical satellites, different downtown images. And then I'm doing more, personal images of little snaps of my life more so than I have. The past few years I've been working more, looking specifically outside of the city, different things out around me versus looking more internal. So I'm doing more internal images as well.
Nice. Anything else you would want to say about the work, or want us to think about as in this historic time? It feels like a big time of change.
Yes. Well, hopefully, because we know that the issue at hand is basically it's a heart issue. So in some aspects, it won't be addressed until the spiritual aspect's addressed, but it goes to the heart. So hopefully, a lot of people can kind of get that switch. Then I can see others again as their neighbor and treat them accordingly.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.